So there are two type of IEMs that I am reviewing right now. I don't upload videos of half of the IEM that I currently have the fortune to listen to, just because they didn't pass the bar that they have to sound good. So there are two kind of IEMs for me, at least. Some IEMs that sound good with few features, and some IEMs are there just because they have no flaws in the music. This Simgot EW300 is one of those IEMs which don't have any flaws. It might not wow you with something like soundstage or imaging, but it is the most complete IEM that I have tried under 10,000 rupees or $100. So people might say that budget doesn't define how an IEM sounds, and I agree to that, but there is some correlation with the amount of money that you spend on an IEM or audio product to the sound. And I think this IEM is evidence that money can't buy sound, or cheap things even can sound very good that higher priced IEMs can't even match. To take an example, I have a love and hate relationship with Simgot. I like their EA500, EA500 LM for specific reasons, but there are some things that I inherently wanted to change in EA500 LM, like the tonal balance. I found the EA500 LM to sound a little bit veiled in the mid-range, and to be honest, it wasn't my cup of tea to digest that IEM, thus I haven't loaded any review in my YouTube channel. Specifically, Simgot came out of nowhere and competing with something like Olina, which I love a lot, and they just destroyed the market. So Simgot is a promising brand nonetheless. They are known for their budget things, budget techniques. I know they have released a lot of products like EM10, Supermix 4, which is a bit out of budget for a lot of beginner audiophiles, but this thing costs just $70, and this is nothing compared to what it is providing sound wise. To start things off, so before starting, I forgot to mention that this comes with two setup nozzles. One is pink and another one is red. I didn't like the pink nozzle, so I'm using the red one. The red one is a bit more refined, pump is a lot more controlled, the upper registers are a lot better, so that's why I'm using the red nozzles. I thought by looking at the graph that I would have liked the pink nozzle, but no, I don't. And if we talk about the tips, yes, I do change the tips to Divinous Velvet, which gave me a lot more details and openness, but not to mention the stock ear tips are thick and they sealed pretty well in my ears, and they are good for run and gun, and they provide a much more balanced representation than something like Final. The tonality of this IEM is safe, yet it is very fun. The sense of timbre is not compromised. No cheap tricks that have been used with this IEM to enhance anything. Like, it has an average soundstage and average resolution, but the best thing is Simgot haven't tried even a bit to increase the treble, to get things more airier, get things a bit more resolving. It is just mature, in one word. To start things off, let's start with the sub bass. The sub bass is full sounding. It has that room filling effect. It is textured. It is very authoritative for the price. The sense of organic attack and decay it has is very good. It has that rumbly feeling that you can get with songs something like Hollow 16-bit, which perform extremely well with this IEM. It just vibrates my ear canals for a really long time. It is not overly forward unless you call for it. Like, it won't jump out of everywhere to give you a sub bassy representation of everything. Resolution in the sub bass is good for the price. It just costs $70. You need a really good driver to produce sub bassy textures, which, to be honest, I haven't seen a lot under $1,000. One of the best sub bass textures I have heard is Singularity, which right in front of my eyes. Singularity is like amazing with bass. The mid bass is almost the same as the sub bass. It is not as textured as the sub bass. It is thumpy enough to pull few genres like EDM or digital music. Attack and decay is really natural, although it has a bit of a delay in the decay, which I can't say I like very much, but it adds to the whole organic feeling of the bass. So, and the mid bass is really well placed in the mix, so it is not overly done so that it can cause any bleed in the mid bass, or it is not super elevated from the sub bass so that the sub bass takes a bit of backseat in the mix, which I do like a bit of mid-bassy IEMs. That why I prefer Twilight a bit more. But this IEM is good implementation of this mid bass, which I can confidently say sounds very good and worth above the price tag. But there is a bit of less resolution in the mix in the bass region, and although it's not very important for me, but I have to say that just because being blunt is what I do in this channel. The lower mids are very natural in the mix. They are very well textured, no nasaliness or honkiness or paperiness that you can notice in male vocals or the whole mid-range in the lower registers. It is very balanced in the mix. It is very open sounding. Lushness is there when you call for it. Upper mids are a bit safe though. A bit of forwardness is missing. I could have used a bit more air in the mix. It's a bit darker than the natural. To be honest, there are two types of upper mids that I have seen in the IEM world. One is like there are a few treble that sound dark. It's like the plain darkness you can notice. It is not dark, it is just safe. Just because my preference is a bit of bright sounding, I find it dark, but for most of the people it will be safe, if not the most sparkly treble. The treble on this IEM is not super lively, it is safe and refined. It is not dark either, but it can compete with IEMs above say $150 or $120. Like it can compete with something like the QT9, which has a bit more resolution in the treble, and it is a bit more snappy to say. The note ends are a bit of rounded off, so to give you the very good listening sessions for long term. To be honest, it is as good as the upper mids. It is not overly elevated to give you any false sense of resolution or details. It is not piercing. It is great for long listening sessions. Soundstage on this IEM is not super wide. If we talk about all of the directions that we can cover in the soundstage with this IEM, although I must have to say that soundstage on IEMs and headphones are not a big of deal breaker for me. I can sense the soundstage, or I prefer the soundstage of speakers, and soundstage in headphones and IEMs doesn't like surprise me or excite me a bit. So I have to tell you about the soundstage, but it is not something that I prefer or not something that I prioritize in my listening sessions. It is not super tall or something. It is fairly tall. It kind of rounds off in upper heights, but it is stretched in stereo with more than the depth. I think it is a yoke shaped stage, and the separation from here to here or the left to right is a bit more compared to the depth. Now if we come to the imaging department, there is not a lot of IEMs that can do imaging well. For example, EA500 LM does imaging exceptionally well. I love that IEM for its imaging capabilities, but in this IEM it's okay. It's not very good, it's not very bad, it's just okay. Resolution, as I said, is not forced to give you a false sense of resolution, but it is not extremely well resolved kind of tuning. You won't feel any missing of details since it's just $70 and I'm comparing it with always like $200 IEMs like the KE4 I have in my decks right now, and I shouldn't do that, but this IEM is so good for the $70 that I have to. The dynamics are extremely well in this IEM. It is very organic to listen to. The timbre is very okay for the price. It's not outstanding. Thing that I liked about the timbre reproduction of this IEM is it does every bit of the instruments average. Like drums sound okay, violin sound okay, saxophone sounds okay, guitar sounds okay. It doesn't compromises on a instrument to get benefit of an instrument. Like we can see, like the drum hits are very complex to render. Like you have to have the low end, you have to have the high end. Few IEMs and most IEMs under $100 fails to do that. I think EW300 does that pretty well. For the final conclusion, do I recommend this IEM? This IEM is exceptional for the value. Like if I have to tell who is in this hobby right now, who is looking for any IEM to purchase at any price point, I would have tell them to get this IEM and leave the hobby for a few months. It's that good. I can recommend EA500, I can recommend EA500 LM, I can recommend Olina AC, I can recommend Rose Techniques QT9 Mark III. There are two IEMs that takes the cake for me under $200. The one is QER's KE4 and this one, the EW300. The overall balance, the overall naturalness, the overall reproduction, the maturity of the sound that you can get with this cheap of a price is exemplary. I will rank this IEM, but be sure that it's a blind buy. Like, I can recommend this IEM enough. So stay tuned for my upcoming videos and bye.